Welcome everybody to the TOEFL PBT structure section with you, Shadi R. Abu Yusuf. Now today we're going to study and discuss together skill number 8, which is using other adverb connectors correctly. Now the adverb connectors that we're going to talk about today are condition connectors, contrast connectors, manner connectors, and place connectors. Now when we come to the condition connectors, we see if, in case, provided, providing, unless, whether. And the contrast connectors, although, even though, while, whereas. And for the manner connectors, we've got as, in that. And for the place connectors, we've got where, wherever. Now let's say something, that these connectors can be used at the very beginning of the sentence, and also they can be used in the middle. Now let me give you an example. Look at this one. If she studies hard, she will succeed. Fantastic. Now where is the connector here? We've got a condition connector, which is if. That's a condition connector. Now after this condition connector we have she, and she is a subject, and then we have studies, and studies is a verb. So look at this. We've got if a connector, she a subject, studies a verb. Then as you see, we've got a comma here, and let's give it a color too. Okay, we've got a comma, and then we've got also another subject. We've got another subject here. Which color can we give that one? Yes, that's nice. So we've got a subject, and we've got a verb, which is will succeed. That's another verb. And let's give it the yellow color, the blue color. So let's have a look here. So we've got if, which is a connector. Then we've got subject, she, in the first clause, and we've got she in the second clause. And then we've got two verbs, studies and will succeed, in the second clause. So two subjects, two verbs, a connector, and a comma. And the comma here is very necessary. Why? Because the connector comes at the beginning of the sentence. And when the connector comes in the beginning of the sentence, this means that the comma is very important. And if the comma is deleted, the sentence is incorrect. Now, we can write this very same sentence, but in a different way. We can write it in a different way. Now look at this one. She will succeed if she studies. Now as you see, we've got she, which is a subject, and we've got will succeed, which is a verb, and we've got if as a connector, and we've got she, which is also a verb, a subject, and then we've got a studies, which is a verb. Fantastic. Now look at this. So we've got she, subject, will succeed, verb, and then we've got if, which is a connector, then we've got she, subject, and then we have studies as a verb. Now we don't have a comma here, because we don't need comma, because the connector is in the middle. So we don't need comma here in this sentence. Now both sentences are correct, and they express the same meaning. No difference here whatsoever. And these two forms are correct. These two formulas are correct. Okay, fantastic. Now let's see how we can be asked about that in a TOEFL test. Now let's see this sentence here, and it's going to be a multiple choice question. Now let's have a look at this one. Let's have a look here. She will travel to Colombia provided. And then we have a gap and then money. Okay. And then we've got choice number 1, which is having. Choice number B, which is has. And number C, to have. And number D, she has. Now let's check this together. In order to be able to answer such a question like that, you need to check the elements first. Look at she. She is what? She is a subject. Do we have a verb? Yes, we've got a verb, which is will travel. Fantastic. So we've got will travel as a verb. Okay, so we've got she as a subject, will travel as a verb. And we've got a connector, which is provided. That's a connector. Let's give it a color here. Okay, so provided is a connector. So I've got she will travel to Colombia provided. So before the connector, I've got subject verb, which means that after the connector we need subject verb. Now having, that's not the right choice because that's a present participle. I don't need that. Has, that's only a verb and I need subject and a verb. To have, that's infinitive plus 2. I don't need it because this is not even a verb. Okay, and finally she has, well, that is the right choice. Why? Because I need subject and verb, and this is exactly what I need. This is subject and verb, so this is the correct choice here. This is how the multiple the multiple choice answer questions comes in the test. Okay, now fantastic. Let's move to something else here. The correct and incorrect question. We'll take that example. The commandant left strict orders about the buses, comma, several soldiers left the post anyway. Fantastic. So I've got an interesting sentence here. The commandant left strict orders about the buses. Several soldiers left the post anyway. Now, in order for us to discover if this sentence is correct or incorrect, we need to analyze it together. Now, let's look for the subject first. The commandant is the subject. That's it. Fantastic. So that's the subject. Do we have a verb? Yes. Left is a verb. Okay, great. And I've got left as a verb. So I've got the commandant, subject, left, a verb. Now, and we have a comma here. Let's get a different color, like let's say orange. Okay, fantastic. And then we've got several soldiers. That's another subject. Okay, great. And then we have left, which is another verb. Let's give it another green color here. Now, fantastic. Let's have a look at the sentence now. So I've got the first subject, the commandant, and we've got the first verb, left. And then we have a second subject, several soldiers. And then we've got a second verb, which is left. So two subjects, two verbs, and a comma. But we do miss a connector, which makes this sentence completely wrong. And in order to make this sentence correct, we need to add a connector here. Now let's think about, a a contrast connector, so we can put something like though at the very beginning. So it will be something like that. It will be something like, though the commandant left strict orders about the passes, several soldiers left the post anyway. Well, that's fantastic. In this case, the sentence becomes correct. Now, let me give you another example here. Look at this one. It says, no one is admitted to the academy unless he or she, the education requirements. Fantastic. No one is admitted to the academy unless he or she, the education requirements. Now let's analyze this together. Do we have a subject? Yes, which is no one is the subject. Do we have a verb? Yes, we've got is admitted. That's a verb. Great. So we've got a subject and we've got a verb. Do we have a connector? Yes, we've got a connector, which is unless. Well, that's a great. And also we have a connector. Now, what about the second clause after the connector? Do we have a subject? Yes, he or she. That's a subject for sure. Do we have a verb? The education? No, that's not a verb. Requirements? No, that's not a verb. Which means that this sentence is incorrect. It is incorrect because we have a missing verb in the second clause after the connector. Now, in order to make it correct, we need to add a verb, like no one is admitted to the academy unless he or she has the education requirements, or he or she fulfills the education requirements, like that. So in order to make this sentence correct, we need to add a verb here after he or she or after the subject. Okay, now let's take another example. Look at this one. As the nurse already explained, all visitors must leave the hospital room now. So as the nurse already explained, all visitors must leave the hospital room now. In order to discover if this sentence is correct or incorrect, also we need to analyze it. Now, we've got as here, which is a connector. Fantastic. So I've got as, that's a connector. And then we've got the nurse, which is a subject. Well, that's clear. So we've got a subject too. And then we've got explained. Fantastic. Explained is a verb. So also we've got a verb. So, as connector, the nurse subject, explained verb, and look at this. We've got another subject here, which is all visitors. That's great. So, another subject. Fantastic. I've got must leave, which is also another verb. That's great too. Fantastic. So connector, two subjects, two verbs. Is it correct? We say no, it is not correct. This sentence is incorrect. Why? Because when the connector comes at the very beginning, this means that we need a comma. And this comma has to come between the two clauses. So as the nurse already explained, and then I put comma, all visitors must leave the hospital room now. That makes it correct. Now let's move to another example here, also about this fantastic siskel, and the example goes as follows. I will take you wherever I will take you wherever need to go to complete the registration procedures. Great. I will take you wherever need to go to complete the registration procedures. Now let's analyze this together. Now we've got I, and I is a subject. Fantastic. Then we have will take, and will take is a verb. So I've got subject verb, and then we have wherever, which is a connector. Well, that's great. And then after the connector we need to have subject verb. So before the connector, subject verb, and after the connector, subject verb. But what do we have? We only have a verb. Only a verb. Where is the subject? It's not there, which makes the sentence completely correct. And in order to make it correct, we say, I will take you wherever you need to go to complete the registration procedures. Well, thank you very much for watching this episode, and wait for me inshallah next time in a new skill from the TOEFL PBT structure section that will share the Abu Yusuf. See you inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.